Richard was an engineer that loved to make different machines. Although he wasn't the best at it, he still would do it every day until perfection. So, he put on his stuff and left to meet up with his friend. Once he met up with his friend David, he grabs his gear again and they venture off into a cave to explore what was within it. When they enter the cave, they hesitate for a second, but before they could decide, Richard falls down deeper into the cave and David follows after him. When Richard woke up, David was already beside him, and ready to go further. As they go deeper, Richard feels like they shouldn't be down there but keeps going with David. They keep walking but encounter a huge spider which starts attacking David. After being hit a bit, David dies and Richard is devastated. Richard goes home still super sad about his friend's death but has to keep working. One of his assistants asks if he wants any food but Richard refuses. His assistant asks again but Richard pushes him down and tells him to leave him alone. Richard goes to work on something else, but little did he know his assistant was behind him with a knife. But since Richard didn't know that his assistant was a killer, he got stabbed and hurt badly. The killer dragged him into a backstage and began to do something to him. The killer starts cutting and slicing Richard up to weaken him but then takes him back to the caves. Once they're back in the caves, Richard wakes up to the killer and the killer wants him to follow him. But Richard tries to stay back since he was hurt and didn't want to go with him. But the killer comes back and takes Richard to the spider and forces him to get killed by the spider. Richard couldn't bring himself to do it, but either way he would be killed. He also saw that David's body was still being eaten by the spider. After a while Richard dies, and his soul goes into the spider.